$3,000. That's what you might spend on a brand new air conditioner. $800. That's your electric bill for 1 month this summer. But even after spending all that money, your room still won't cool down. The whole house feels even hotter than it is outside. And no, your air conditioner isn't necessarily broken. Don't call a technician just yet, because you could very well end up spending another $1,500 fixing a problem that doesn't even exist. Instead, all you need to start with is a $7 powder, an ancient powder that was used long before every home had air conditioning. It doesn't just make your bedroom feel more comfortable, it can also help keep your whole house cool all summer, even when the power goes out. But that powder is just one roof-based cooling solution. I'm also going to show you a special roof design in Gando, Burkina Faso, designed by Francis Carre, that helped an elementary school get through blistering heat without air conditioning. And by the end, you'll have a sustainable roof improvement plan, not just for this summer, but for the next 10 years. Don't skip this video, because this might be the thing that changes your summers forever. Why do we need this powder even when we already have air conditioning? I know you want me to just tell you what that ancient powder is, where to buy it, and how to brush it onto your roof. But hold on. Before we touch any kind of powder, you need to understand why we even need it when the house already has air conditioning. Because once you understand this, you're going to wish you had known about it sooner. All of us use air conditioning in the summer. But do you know what your air conditioner is actually doing? The truth is, it doesn't create cool air. It just takes the heat that has already gotten into your house, then pushes it outside. Basically, your air conditioner is cleaning up the heat after the heat has already come in. And the biggest problem is usually right above your head, your roof. All day long, the sun is beating straight down on it. If your roof is dark, it absorbs a lot of heat. That heat works its way down into the attic, then down to the ceiling, and eventually into your living space. By then, your air conditioner has to keep running non-stop just to pull all that heat back outside. The annoying part is air conditioning repair technicians often know that heat from the roof and attic can overload the system. But when you call them over, they'll talk about the machine, a dirty filter, a coil that needs cleaning, low refrigerant, the wrong thermostat, setting a bad thermostat, a weak compressor, or a unit that's old and needs to be replaced. Nobody points up at the roof and tells you the root of the problem might start right here. It's simple. They can't keep making money from you if they tell you the truth that clearly. Now you know where the problem is, so how do we fix it? It's very simple. Focus on the roof. The principle is simple too. There are two main ways to do it. One is to reflect sunlight away from the roof. The other is to reduce how much heat moves from the roof into the house. It's not magic, it's just physics. And this ancient powder helps you do that by making the roof surface reflect sunlight better, so the roof absorbs less heat. All right, no more dragging it out. I'm going to reveal it right now. Method 1, hydrated lime. And this is the powder you've been waiting to find out about. No more beating around the bush. It's hydrated lime, or calcium hydroxide. First, I want to call it by the right name, because if you get this part wrong, you're already going in the wrong direction. I'm not talking about quicklime, which is much more dangerous when it comes into contact with water. What we're talking about is hydrated lime, ideally the kind used in construction, like Type S hydrated lime. This is not a new invention. It's a material so old that a lot of people ignore it just because it doesn't look modern at all. Before expensive paint temperature control apps or HVAC systems that cost several $1,000s, a lot of brick walls, stone walls, warehouses, barns, and buildings in hot regions were whitened with lime wash. Now let's get straight to why it works. When you mix hydrated lime with water, it creates a white mixture. When that layer dries, the surface that used to be dark and soak up sunlight gets covered with a much brighter white layer. Basically, this powder helps the roof take in less sun, and the air conditioner doesn't have to run as long to pull that heat outside. The AC still runs, of course. But instead of making it deal with all the heat caused by a roof that's been soaking up sun all day, you're reducing the problem right at the roof. And there are rules you need to follow for your own safety. Don't let the dust get into your eyes. Don't leave it sitting on your skin for too long. When you mix it or brush it on, use gloves, safety glasses, and a mask or dust respirator. And absolutely do not confuse hydrated lime with quicklime. Also, if you have to climb onto the roof to do this, roof safety is even more important than this powder. Now, if your roof is suitable, this is how I usually do it. And I'll say this up front. I never start with the whole roof. First, I check the surface. Is it clean? Is anything peeling? Is it still under warranty? And does the roofing material work with an alkaline coating like lime wash? Then, I test a small corner first. The mixture usually starts with hydrated lime mixed with water stirred until it's thin like paint. After testing it, if the coating sticks well, I brush or roll on one thin layer. Let it dry, then consider a second layer. And I avoid rainy days, strong wind, or times when the roof is too hot. But this is where I have to be honest with you, because a lot of videos deliberately skip over this part to make this powder look like a magic fix for everything. No, this powder is not right for every roof. If you have asphalt shingles, a special metal roof, a roof that is still under warranty, gutters that could be affected, or you live in a neighborhood where the HOA controls roof color, you need to check first. In places with a lot of rain, pure lime wash can wash off faster. Pay attention to that. If you like the idea of reflecting sunlight but want something that holds up better against rain and sun, there are other options worth considering. You can add a suitable binder water glass or sealer to improve adhesion and rain resistance. And if you want something made specifically for this job in a more proper way, look at white elastomeric roof, paint, cool roof coating, or reflective roof coating. They're no longer as cheap as a bag of lime, but in return, they usually stick better, stretch better, and make more sense for RVS flat roofs, workshops, or surfaces that need a specialized coating. As you can see, this powder is clearly worth trying whether your house has AC or not. But if your roof is not suitable, I'll reveal a safer method. Method 2. A secondary cover for the roof. Before we talk about the whole roof, remember a small trick I mentioned in a previous video. In the video about 5 tips to help your air conditioner cool better, I talked about shading the outdoor AC unit in the yard. It works. It helps the air conditioner cool faster and deeper, and it's not just me. A lot of people have tried it and seen results too. Back then I thought, if that method works, why not try shading the roof too? And when I say roof cover, I'm not only talking about some big expensive structure. It can start with very familiar things: wide overhanging eaves, awnings outside the windows, a veranda around the house shade, cloth, a climbing plant trellis, or large trees planted in the right direction. Even though they all look different, what they do is the same: they create shade before the sun hits the walls, windows, and roof. You can see this principle most clearly on RVS campers and mobile homes. These spaces heat up really fast because the roofs are usually thinner and there isn't much material mass to slow the heat down. As long as there's a layer of shade above the actual roof, no longer has to take direct sun. That's why a lot of people use shade cloth, a carport, or even build a pole barn style secondary roof above a mobile home or manufactured home. Solar panels are a great example too. A lot of people think they only make electricity, but if they're installed the right way and have a gap underneath, they also create shade for the roof. Air can move through that gap and carry some of the heat away. Basically, they don't just make electricity for you, they also shade your roof from some of the sun. And if you want to take this idea up another level, there's an even smarter way: create a second roof layer that doesn't just provide shade, but also helps pull hot air out. That's when we move to the third method: a curved double roof and natural ventilation. Method 3, curved double roof and natural ventilation. I'll say this up front, this isn't just a little weekend trick anymore. This is for someone who's building new, redoing a roof, making a workshop, a cabin, a shed, or wanting to restructure the house so it can release heat better on its own. Basically, instead of just blocking the sun, you design a roof system that can push hot air out. You can see this kind of architecture at the elementary school in Gando, Burkina Faso, Designed by architect Francis Carey. This is a hot climate, but instead of relying on air conditioning, the building uses the roof itself to reduce heat. And the best part is it isn't just something sitting on a drawing board. This building was actually built, actually works, and was recognized with the Aga Khan Award. So how does a double roof work? Imagine that instead of having just one roof layer, taking all the sun, you have a second roof layer above it. The top layer takes the strongest sun. The lower layer is protected from direct sunlight. Between the two roof layers, there's a gap for air to move through. That gap is extremely important because without a path for air to flow, you're basically just putting another hot lid on top of the house. The smart part isn't just the shade, it's how it releases heat. Hot air always tends to rise. When the upper roof is heated by the sun, the hot air in the gap between the two roofs rises too. If both ends of the roof have a way for air to escape, and wind can move through that airflow, carries the hot air out. At that point, the double roof isn't just an umbrella, it's more like a horizontal heat vent sitting above the house. At the Gando building, they went further than a normal secondary roof. The ceiling underneath has openings or escape paths that help the hot air inside the classroom rise faster. When that hot air moves into the roof area, the outside wind can pull it out of the building, so the roof doesn't just block sunlight from above, it also helps the room underneath breathe better. And this is the most important technical part, the curved roof shape. When air moves through a narrower section, it can speed up. You can picture it like gently squeezing the end of a water hose. The water shoots out faster. Wind works the same way. A curved roof can create areas where the airflow moves faster, which helps pull hot air out more effectively. This effect is usually called the Venturi effect. And the interesting thing is, a curved double roof is not some strange trick. It's just a modern version of a very old idea: build a house. So heat has a harder time getting in, and if heat does get in, it has a way out. Before air conditioners, people knew how to use roofs, walls, shade, wind, earth, and local materials to survive the heat. And if you look back at history, you'll find plenty of methods that are even stranger, smarter, and sometimes much cheaper than just buying a bigger AC. Traditional architecture, old but smart cooling solutions. See, at first we were only talking about a powder you brush onto the roof. But the deeper we go, the story is no longer just about that powder. It becomes a story about how people dealt with heat before air conditioning showed up. Whether it's hydrated lime, a roof cover, or a double roof, they all come back to one very simple thing: don't let heat get into the house too easily. People in the past didn't have air conditioning compressors, automatic thermostats, or phone apps where you could tap once and make the room cool. But they paid very close attention. Which wall gets hit by the afternoon sun? Which direction does the wind usually come from? What time does the roof get the hottest? How do the materials around them hold heat? The first example is adobe, a style of earth house or sun-dried earth brick house with very thick walls. This style is not unfamiliar in the United States, especially in New Mexico, Arizona, and the Southwest. It works best in hot, dry places where the days are brutally sunny, but the nights can be cooler, like many areas in Arizona, Nevada, or West Texas. Thick walls slow down the heat as it moves in, almost like a speed bump for heat. Another really interesting example is the city of Yazd in Iran, which is famous for wind towers, courtyards, and thick earthen walls. There, people didn't just build houses to look nice. They built them to catch the wind, create shade, and keep the inside more comfortable. If you live in Phoenix, Las Vegas, Palm Springs, or Tucson, you don't need to build an entire wind tower in your backyard. But you can learn one very practical thing from it: create deep shade. Guide the wind in the right direction, and don't let the sun hit every surface directly. Then there are places that go even further, like Coober Pedy in Australia. The sun above ground is so harsh that many people live in underground or partly underground homes. Below the ground, the temperature is more stable, and the walls and roof don't get hit by the sun directly all day. Today we still see that same way of thinking In self-sufficient earthship homes in New Mexico, using earth as thermal mass, orienting the house according to the sun, creating ventilation paths, making use of local materials, and reducing dependence on electricity. Of course, not every solution works everywhere. Adobe works better in dry climates than in humid areas like Florida or Louisiana. Wind towers require a real understanding of wind direction. Underground homes need the right soil drainage and structure. Earthships also don't work the same just anywhere you build them. But after looking around like this, you'll see one very practical thing. People in the past didn't fight heat with one single formula. They looked at the climate where they lived and built around it. And that's what we need to do next. Don't copy an entire house from Iran, Australia, or New Mexico. Go back to your own house and ask, is the place where I live hot, dry, or hot, humid? What kind of roof do I have? Where does the sun hit the longest? Does it rain a lot? Is there a winter? Is there an HOA or a roof warranty? And do I want to do a small trick or a major renovation? The final part will be a practical plan to help you choose the right direction for your own house. A cooling plan made for your roof. Now, before you run out to buy hydrated lime mortar, white roof paint, or build a shade roof behind the house, I have to be honest with you about something. Don't turn your roof into a weekend experiment just because a tip sounds exciting. There is no single solution that is right for every house. The smart move is not copying a video online exactly. The smart move is knowing why your house is getting hot. First, look at the climate where you live. If you're in a hot, dry area like Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, or West Texas, ideas like a light-colored roof shade, thick walls, nighttime ventilation, or a double roof with an air gap have a better chance of working well. But if you're in a hot, humid area like Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, or the Gulf Coast, the story is totally different. There, the problem isn't just heat, it's also humidity. Blowing more air the wrong way can sometimes just pull more moisture into the house, and air conditioning is still very important because it helps remove humidity. Next, look at your roof. A metal roof, a flat roof, an RV roof, a roof that is still under warranty, and a roof in a neighborhood with an HOA all need different approaches. If it were my house, I'd do it in this order. First, walk around the house in the afternoon and see which room is the hottest, which wall gets sun the longest, and whether the ceiling is still hot after the weather has cooled down. If the attic is safe to inspect, I'd check how hot it is, whether it has ventilation, and whether it has enough insulation. I'd find the heat source before buying anything. Only after that would I choose what to do. If you're not sure, yet start with something easy to test and low risk: awnings, shade cloth, greenery, window shading, or shading the outdoor AC unit the right way. If the roof is truly suitable, then think about lime wash sun-reflecting paint or a dedicated roof coating. If you're building new or doing a major renovation, that's when you consider a secondary roof, solar panels, with an air gap or a ventilated double roof. I'm not against air conditioning. I use air conditioning just like everybody else. But I don't like paying the electric bill for a machine to fix problems that the roof walls and sun created from the start of the day. Last time I showed you a few ways to make life easier for your AC. Today we took one step back. Don't let the house get too hot in the first place. I didn't invent hydrated lime wash, white roofs, or shade roofs. Our grandparents, old builders, farmers, and people who lived in hot regions knew this a long time ago. My job is just to pull it out of the dust, look at it again with practical eyes, and be clear about what's worth trying and what you need to be careful with. So remember this: a cheap trick is only truly cheap when it doesn't damage your roof. Check first, test small, first then go bigger. If you've ever brushed on lime wash, painted a roof white stretched shade, cloth, installed an attic fan, shaded an RV, or you have any trick that helps keep a house cooler, share it below. Remember to say which state you're in, what the climate is like, and what kind of roof you have. And if you like old cheap tricks, subscribe to the channel. We still have a lot of good stuff to dig into around the house and the garden.